Portal. What do you think it is? Elen asked. I have no idea. A wormhole? Who knows? Madoc said. And how long has it been here? She asked. How should I know? I only found it a few years ago, he said. Years? Elen asked. I wasn't sure what to do with it, he said. They stood in a corridor burrowed into the asteroid Ganymed. It was a roughly chiseled hole to nowhere. Near the end of the passage, a jagged window opened onto a star-filled sky. Light from it filled the corridor with an eerie glow. Have you tried going through it? Elen asked. No, I've put things into it. They just float away, he said. Float? She asked. Madoc gave her a confused look. What else are they going to do in space? I'm only asking. Elen approached the object, what Madoc called a portal, and reached for its outer edge. Her fingers nearly touched one of the jagged points. I wouldn't do that, he said. Why not? He thought about the first time he'd met her, when he was coming back from Earth on a cramped shuttle. Elen had started up a conversation and wouldn't let go until he engaged. He'd since learned that this was how she got through life. He still wasn't sure if he liked that quality, but he'd certainly grown to like her. I needed to get away, she told him then. Away? From Earth, from life, she said. How do you get away from life? He'd asked. You know. You find a new thing, a new path, she said. At the time, Madoc was heading back to Mars. From there, he would pilot his own ship home to his little asteroid and his portal to nowhere. He'd gone to Earth in hopes of finding someone who knew about such things. He came up empty-handed. Their conversation lasted several days. That was both the blessing and the curse of intersolar travel, the time required to get anywhere. Their meeting was one of those rare instances when it was a blessing. By the time they'd gotten to Mars, he had invited her to stay with him. Madoc Caln wasn't the only person to call Ganymed home, but its meager 30-kilometer diameter still left ample room for him to feel alone. He couldn't recall the last time he'd even talked to any of the 7 other people who inhabited the rock. In fact, he'd been surprised to learn that the population had grown from 5 to 7. Maybe it was loneliness that drove his interest in Elen. He'd never considered himself lonely, but she seemed to fill something for him. It wasn't simply the sex, though he welcomed that. It was her insight, her ability to make him laugh, and her passion for the unknown. That last point troubled him as well. He wondered how long it would be before Elen was looking to escape him. For that matter, he had yet to discover what had drawn her to him in the first place. You mean Ganymed, right? She'd asked at the time. How often had he answered that question? No, this place is much smaller than Ganymed. It's not a moon either, just a big rock. The other inhabitants of Ganymed had built most of their abodes above the rocky surface. He'd chosen to expand downward, digging out more space below. That's how he discovered this window. Even while sharing a bed with her, he hadn't been comfortable revealing the secret of the portal. He'd kept its existence to himself for so long, he wondered if he would ever reveal its location deep within the rock. The more he got to know her, the more he wanted to bare his soul. The thought excited him. He would finally have someone else to discuss this mystery with. It also had the opposite effect when he considered her penchant for taking flight. Why didn't you show this to me sooner? She asked. I don't know. I wasn't sure how you'd react, he said. Did I live up to your expectations? She asked. He smiled. You did all right. So, why shouldn't I touch it? She asked. I've sent things through, but I've also poked it with things, he said. Her forehead furrowed. And? Nothing that goes in comes back out, he said. What does that mean? She asked. He picked up a metal pole. This used to be longer. I've put it in more than once. He poked the pipe into the portal. The The metal moved through the window without any indication or change, ultimately protruding into the space beyond. When he pulled it back, the section within the portal floated away, its end cut cleanly off. They both watched the small piece of metal drift into the void. He held the pole toward her. See? The end had a clean, slick sheen. She touched the smooth surface of the pipe. So you've never touched the portal yourself? No. Why do you think it does that? She asked. He'd found nothing about it in his deep dive of Earth's archives. If anyone had encountered something similar, they left no record of it. It was possible, if unlikely, that they were just as secretive as he was. My guess, he said, it's because you can't come back once you've gone through. If anyone else ever found one, they were probably lost when they went through it. She nodded. Seems reasonable, but I imagine they couldn't have kept it a secret like you have. She studied it, her head tilting back and forth, her eyes narrowed. It was large enough to conceal her as she stepped around it. What do you think? He asked. I think it's amazing, she said. When I first found it, he said, I was afraid I'd broken through the asteroid, that it would suck me into space. It took me a few days to clear the rocks around it. As you can see, there's nothing back there. Nothing at all. This is wild, she said. I thought maybe someone was trying to hide it, he said. Elen poked her head out from behind the portal. Like a higher intelligence? I don't know. I would think a higher intelligence might have made it the shape of a square or a circle, something regular, he said. She continued around it, finally emerging from the other side, her face still contorted in contemplation. You might be right, but that means it's probably natural. What the hell? She said. So, he said uncertainly, what do you think we should do with it? We? She asked. Yeah, we, he said with a smile. You're here now. Maybe I'm being a bit reckless, but... Reckless? She asked. How many years did you say you had this hidden and you've done nothing with it? He frowned. Fair point. She backed toward him, the star field bathing her in a faint glow. I have no idea what to do with it. I can tell you what I want to do, she said. Yeah, and I've already told you why we can't, he said. We? She asked again. Madoc smiled. I guess I mean why I haven't. She reached her hand toward it, causing him to shudder. Does it make any noise or vibrate or anything? She asked. He shook his head. This is it. No tricks, no noises, nothing. Just a window into another place. Any idea where? She asked. Another shake of the head. I'm not even sure of when. When? She asked. Well, space and time are linked, right? So if that's a different space, it could be a different time. He watched her eyes, the way her tongue played across her lips, the tilt in her head. Elle, promise me you won't try to go through. She nodded without looking toward him. Of course not. Elen asked questions and threw out suppositions the rest of that day. Her focus was on the anomalous window into space, an object of infinite mystery and danger. When they finally went to bed that evening, her lovemaking was ravenous. It was something Madoc had never seen in her, and it left him drained. The next morning, she was gone. Madoc rushed to the corridor, his shirt unbuttoned, his trousers sagging and tripping him. There he saw Elen, her vac suit reflecting some unseen light. She had drifted away, a small dot near a corner of the portal. He called to her, but knew she wouldn't hear. He rushed to the airlock, donned a V-suit, and hurried back to the corridor. On the way, he found the roll of cable he bought for this purpose, to tether himself if he ever went through. When he arrived in the corridor, his breath was quick, as was his heartbeat. He secured the cable to a support he directed, all the while searching the dark void for Elen. When the tether was tight, he closed the visor on the suit and launched himself toward the opening. Aside from the time spent in spacecraft, Madoc hadn't spent much time in freefall. When he passed through the window into that other place, he felt a surge of fear well up. With it came what remained of the previous night's dinner. As he floated into the void, his hands grasped for something solid, his feet kicked for firm ground. His momentum carried him into a roll. When he gained control of the suit, he stopped his tumble. Looking back, he found that the cable had run out, its ends severed like the pipe. He did not see the place he'd come from. There was no gateway back to his world. Instead, he was drifting away from a large star in the near distance. He tapped his helmet's comm and called out, "El?" His mind raced through logistics. He could be reasonably sure that Elen's oxygen tanks were full. That would leave the two of them only a few hours of atmosphere. The suits had limited propulsion, and there didn't appear to be anywhere nearby to land. Food and fluids were the least of their worries at that point. When he turned himself toward where he thought he'd find Elen, a small flash of light drew his attention. It was in the distance, perhaps as far as she might be. Another flash, and he called again. The lack of response may have meant nothing. Elen's comm might have been off. In fact, why would she have it on? Until he arrived, she might have had this universe to herself. With a slight adjustment, Madoc corrected in the direction of that last flash. There he floated, alone in the void of an unknown universe. He could get no response from Elen, and he had no means of returning home. These facts began to weigh on his mind. He had plenty of time to think about them, at least until the air ran out. Stars glittered in the distance, constant reminders of endless space. They looked a little different from those he'd seen in his entire life. There were no constellations, at least none he would recognize. Just a blanket of stars that would remain forever out of his reach. To his right, he sensed movement. The helmet didn't allow him to look, so he expended a small burst of thrust. What he found was a shadow, a hole in the panorama of stars. He could make out no details. Whatever it was, it didn't appear to reflect the light he was hurtling away from. It grew larger, blotting out points of light in the farthest reaches of his field of vision. He began to feel overwhelmed by it, as though a giant ship were nearing him, one he could not see. A light appeared, merely a sliver at first. It spread diagonally into a soft glowing rectangle, like the door of an airlock. The light neared Madoc, as though approaching to swallow him. "Madoc?" It was Elen's voice through his comm. "Yes, it's me," he answered. "Follow the light. Whoever they are, they've come to help."